Hello, this is chapter 10, I'm about to start, of The Heart of Hyndorin, which is book 8 in the Modern Magick series by Charlotte E. English. It's a bit fun. It's very fun. First person, which is always nice. Not going to do too much for you because I don't want to give things away, but we'll see. Let's see what happens. Okay, chapter 10. 10. So much for my brilliant theory. Torveston came here to perfect his magic regulator. Good start. Good start, Di. Well done. Let's put my pre-roll on. There we go. Torveston came here to perfect his magic regulating device, I'd thought, so that he could someday go home and repair the damage he had helped to cause at Faringale. True, I had come up with no ideas as to why he never had gone back, except that the device, perhaps, never worked. To hear that he had actively chosen not to go back, and indeed to hide the thing from everyone who might come looking for him, well, that changed things. "I don't understand," I said. The elderly troll straightened. "If I tell you that your purpose in coming here cannot be fulfilled, and Torveston's work will never be released to you, do you then still wish to ask questions of me?" "Of course," I said, frowning. He nodded once and held out his hand, Torveston's compass still tucked into his palm. As I took it, he tightened his fingers briefly around mine before releasing me. I hoped it was a gesture of goodwill. His scrutiny of me appeared now more curious than suspicious. "The sixth Briton," he mused. "But Torveston always said that magic would decline there, and you do not appear to bear out that theory." Not bristling with magic as I was, no. I stood there as his temporary equal, a natural part of all that lovely magical flow. "It's complicated," I said. His lips curved in a faint smile. "I am the 17th Earl Evermere," he said, "but you may call me Luan." I made him my best milady curtsy, which prompted another smile. Then I ruined it by saying, "Call me Vess." Quarter of an hour later, I sat in a quiet parlour some floors below with Earl Evermere, being plied with good things, always my favourite part of any mission. "You are not, then, here alone?" I inquired, somewhere in the midst of my third scone. "Oh, no. We are not so numerous as once we were, of course, but 21 wardens remain, along with our families." "Wardens?" "Our lineages were tasked with the care and protection of the tower and its contents, before His Majesty died. Some few of us have died out in the intervening centuries, but enough remain." 70 or... "70 or 80 people, perhaps, in a building the size of a small town. No wonder it felt deserted, or some parts of it did. Here on the lower floors I'd seen signs enough of habitation, though oh, my mouth worked too fast. Right. Here on the lower floors I'd seen signs enough of habitation, though we had not yet encountered anyone else. "You never bring in anyone from outside?" "Outside?" he echoed, aghast. "Never." I thought about everything I had seen beyond this serene enclave forgotten by time, and couldn't wonder at it. 21 wardens and their families could never be enough to protect the tower from the likes of Weir and his trade partners of Vale. Hungry for profit, morally moribund, and devoid of respect for either history or consequence, they'd decimate the place. But how isolated an existence! And the ultimate fate of everyone who lived here must be a final and irrevocable decline. I was growing tired of that general theme. Earl Evermere, Luan, munched his way slowly through a sweet roll, his gaze fixed somewhere on the middle distance. I didn't rush him. Having just given him the speedy lowdown on everything that had led me to his tower, my next duty was to leave him a moment to think it over. And devour a couple more delicacies in the process. Gods, but and devour a couple more delicacies in the process. Gods, but I was hungry. By the time he again spoke. By the time he again spoke, I was happily replete and dozing off in my dangerously comfortable armchair. A fire burned in the grate, around which we and our tea-table were arranged. Watching the flames, I'd been close to gliding off to sleep. 1 or 2 points do not perfectly make sense, said Luan at length, startling me awake. I sat up quickly, trying to look alert. I said intelligently. Yes? I tapped the compass on the arm of my chair. Yes, said Luan. That is the salient point. Ooh, stomach rumble. Gotta get that out. You don't know how this came to be at Faringale? I did not know that any had been left there. Plus the key to the door tucked inside a scroll case, and on the inside of that case was a map of the mountains within which this enclave is hidden. Either Torveston himself... Either Torveston himself returned once to Faringale and left these things there, or he sent someone else to do it. So if he did not want his work to be unearthed by his descendants, why did he leave us the means to follow him? Luan stared at the compass. I cannot answer that, but, Vess, you should know. I waited, but he did not finish the sentence. What should I know? I prompted. He looked at me, and I read unease and something like guilt in his eyes. His Majesty's project, he said. The, regulator? If you would like to call it that, yes. It no longer exists. I almost dropped my teacup. Tell me I heard that wrong. Luan shook his head. The records state that His Majesty came to regret the project, he said, and fell silent again. Much as I could sympathize with his predicament, I did not really have a lot of time to waste while he wrestled with himself. Because it never worked? I prompted. He blinked. Oh, no. It wasn't that it did not work. I reminded myself to breathe. Do you mean that it did work, or the fact that it didn't was not the source of Torveston's regret? It worked, he said. This enclave was built partly with the assistance of It is referred to as the Heart of Hyndorin, because we must conclude that is precisely what it was. Coming as you do from a diminished Britain, you might not suppose that this place is a pale shadow of its former glory. Yet it is much faded, because the heart is gone. I stared. The thing worked. Giddy gods, this changes everything. Yes, said Luan heavily. It did change everything. It was too much of a success, you see. It was His Majesty's greatest pride, and as you have surmised, he did hope to return to Faringale with it and reverse that enclave's destruction. But others among his courtiers had different ideas. Where there is powerful magic, there will always be avarice and ambition. In this instant, there was not only powerful magic, but the means to generate more and more of it. You may imagine, I suppose, what that represented to some of the members of His Majesty's court. I could not suppress a sigh. What a tired old story. And this is why we can't have nice things, I said. Stomach gurgles. And this is why we can't have nice things, I said. Pardon me. Too much air. Oh, for goodness sake. I do excuse me. Please do. What? Wittering on like nonsense. Here we are. Luan blinked at me, and I reminded him. Still gurgling. Let's try that again. Oh, for goodness sake, you can't be in the story. Stop gurgling. Luan blinked at me, and I reminded himself that he came from a society worlds away from mine. The court divided into two factions, he said. Torvastein's closest allies and those who came to oppose his ideas. The heart became a dangerous bone of contention between them, and matters soon grew out of hand. Much damage was done. His Majesty came to doubt his own plans in the wake of this disaster, and wondered whether the very descendants upon whom he had expected to bestow his work might not prove unworthy of it. Placed into the wrong hands, it would do far more harm to your Britain than good, and he had been in such a position before. Of course he had. He was the king whose efforts to save his kingdom had ultimately hastened. Of course he had. He was the king whose efforts to save his kingdom had ultimately hastened its demise. He would be the last person to sail blindly into another such mistake. My heart ached at the tragedy of it, and the waste. I'd fairly castigated Weir and his ilk for insufficient interest in the consequences of their actions. Had the opposite attitude led Torvaston to destroy his irreplaceable work? The heart was destroyed in 1741, said Luan, at the very end of Torvaston's life. It broke his heart to do it, so they say, for he did not long survive its destruction. those whose action... There was a beep. Some notification somewhere. Those whose actions had led to his decision were expelled forever from Hyndorin. Those who remained were appointed tower wardens to guard what was left for as long as we could. Against the return of Torvastein's enemies, I guessed. Yes, and everyone else. Has no one else ever got in? Ever? Luan shifted in his chair. Once in a great while. We are not quite self-sufficient here. Occasionally it is necessary for some of us to leave, to procure necessities or to conduct research. Carelessness or ill luck are inevitable in time, of course. And it has sometimes happened that someone has followed one of us back inside. And what came... Oh my God. And what came of that? We dealt with it, he said in a harder voice, and took greater care in future. It hasn't happened in a long time. I wanted to ask how they had dealt with it exactly. No reports of successful infiltration of this enclave had made it beyond the walls. Oh my God, read what is written. Oh my... Oh my God, I'm struggling with so many noises and issues within my own body. Let's have another go. I wanted to ask how they had dealt with it exactly. No reports of successful infiltration of this enclave had made it beyond the walls, apparently. But Luan was looking, grimly and with some sadness, at an unusual standard lamp in one corner. I'd noticed it before, for it was oddly twisted in shape, and its green silk shade tilted, almost like a bowed head. I thought of what I had done to Weir, and decided I did not need to know the details. So you see, said Luan, returning his attention to me, I cannot help you fulfill your mission, for it is beyond my power. Even if it was ultimately Torvastein's wish, I said. Maybe he thought differently before he died. Maybe he had a little faith in us after all. Even if he did, the heart is gone forever. There is nothing for you to take back to his successors. Successors? There is nothing for you to take back to his successors. I saw that he did not much regret having to give me such a negative for an answer. Despite the evidence of the scroll case and the compass and the key, as far as he was concerned, his ancestral king had decided the heart was not to be entrusted to anyone ever again. He and his ancestors... He and his ancestors had dedicated their lives to protecting what was left of Torvastein's legacy. They were used to doing as he was thought to have wanted. What? They were used to doing as he was... They were used to doing as he was thought to have wanted. They were used to doing as he was thought to have wanted. I'm just going to do it and have a listen back later. They were used to doing as he was thought to have wanted. Also, in fairness, even the compass and scroll case did not absolutely mean that Torvaston had changed his mind. It could have been someone else who'd taken them to Faringale after his death. It wasn't a likely explanation, but nor was it impossible. "I understand," I said graciously, even as my mind was busy working on a way around the problem. "An idea." Gurgles. An idea occurred to me, and I sat up. "Luan," I said, "one question." "Yes?" "I suppose there isn't any chance that Torvaston lied?" "Lied?" he repeated, with strong disapproval. "About destroying the heart. You don't suppose he might have made everyone believe that he'd wrecked it, while he'd actually hidden it instead?" "No," said Luan, crushing my hopes. "Its destruction was witnessed by his most loyal courtiers. The materials that went into making it were redistributed and crafted into other artifacts, many of which are still here. There can be no doubt that the heart is gone." I sagged back in my chair again, disappointed. But, oh, gurgles, oh my God. Shh. Not going to stop. But the heart itself might be gone. But someone had built the thing in the first place, and someone had possibly kept records of the process. And guess who had a friend in the library/workshop upstairs, cheerfully soaking up every word the Trolls of Hyndorin had written? "I do believe we are about to have company." For God's sake! There's a battle today. "I do believe we are about to have company," said Luan, his eyes going far away. "Someone of your acquaintance, I hope." In other words, someone unfamiliar to him. I had only an instant to think of Jay before the door swung open and someone charged into the room, stopping just short of colliding with Luan's chair. The newcomer was about Jay's height and had his colouring, but otherwise the resemblances were few. This man was sprouting feathers and a pair of incorporeal wings. Incorporeal? Oh. This man was sprouting feathers and a pair of This man was sprouting feathers, and a pair of incorporeal wings hovered behind him. His long fingers curled under like claws, and they were tipped with talons. I did not want to look too closely at his face, because I was fairly sure he had more beak than mouth, and, good heavens, he was wearing a familiar jacket. "Jay," I said, "I don't wish to alarm you, but you appear—" Oh, my God. Come on. We can get through this. I've been fighting something for a little bit. I have to keep going. Make it work. but you appear to be turning into a griffin. I'm going to do that last bit. Last bit. You tell I live in the West Country. You do that last bit. Jay, I said, I don't wish to alarm you, but you appear to be turning into a griffin. Accompanied by a stomach gurgle at the very last minute. Last minute. There we go again. So, a little bit stoppy-starty and a little bit fighting whatever is lurking and gurgly stomach and... But it's good fun. That's the end. That's chapter 10. Start the series. It's quirky and fun. It's like fairy tales for adults, in a way. Young adults. Whoever likes it. I like it. It's fun. I'm going to stop wittering and get back to work. See you all soon. Bye.